seen many, many changes over our lifetime. But this particular change that has taken place in our retirement years has been the most devastating of any change we've had to go through.
Mars Hill. A long forested mountain rises 1,700 feet from the flat potato fields of Aroostook County, Maine. So far east, it's the first place in the continental U.S. to see the sunrise. With the decline in potato farming, the staple crop of Aroostook County, many individuals in this community have been forced to seek work outside of town. However, some have now returned home with plans to settle into the quiet, peaceful life they once knew.
My father returned from Regina, Saskatchewan in 1914 with $400 and started farming here on this 200-acre farm, and married my mother in 1918 and continued on owning this farm until 1960, at which time I purchased it from the family. Our purpose and intent in living here was to enjoy the benefits of the farm, a nice secluded area, quiet, peaceful, where we could enjoy the birds, enjoy the animals in the forest and wooded area, and enjoy the farm life.
In the winters here, silence is, the silence that's here is, you wonder if your head's working. You wonder if your ears are working, because you hear, there's nothing. There's nothing. So you almost have to make a sound to make sure that your ears are functioning. You can hear the snowfall in your hair or on your jacket. Birds flying overhead, you can hear their wings flap.
We have children. We have 3 children, 13, 10, and 9, and we have a great concern in the investment that we put into this house, this property, and we don't want to move. We want to stay here. I had mentioned that I don't want to move. The words I said were, hey, the next place I'm going is, I mean, you'll be taking me out in a pine box.
In 2001, the UPC Wind Power Company came to Mars Hill prospecting for a possible wind farm site.
I think anyone that has lived in Aroostook County, Maine, has a pretty good understanding of the relative economy here. We are a poor area of the state of Maine, and Maine in general is a poor area of the country. So I guess you could say we're among the poorest of the poor in a sense. When you look at a project that will bring significant tax revenue to your community, I think you do have to set up and take notice of that. I think you'd be narrow-minded and closed-minded if you didn't do that.
UPC Wind came to us, and it was actually a contractor that they had hired that came to us. You know, he was the front man, so to speak, for the project. He was had worked for the U.S. government, and he was a soil scientist and environmentalist, environmental activist, and he was the one that brought the project to the town. And then he spoke with a lot of the local people and came to the town council, and basically got the council's blessing to go forward with the project.
Several families would move back to Mars Hill, buying land not far from the Boyds on Mountain Road, which is located at the foot of Mars Hill. Some of the families, the Todds, the Copperwaiths, and the Tardys, have saved for years to build a home. Some to raise children, others to retire.
He always wanted to come back, you know, because we both were from Presque Isle, born and raised, and we moved to Connecticut when we got married. He was already there, but he came back. And after he retired, we wanted to come back, and we did move to South China, but he still wanted to come here. So he's back, and this was our retirement home. This is where we put everything, our life savings, everything into the home. And we figured this is where we'll really live out our remaining days, and now it's pretty doubtful.
We came back, I found employment with the local processing plant, and we moved up to northern Maine, back to northern Maine, back home.
According to town officials, no formal meetings were held to introduce the project coming to town. It was felt these meetings would not be utilized and most information would be obtained through word of mouth in the small community. A public hearing would be held for individuals to voice their questions and concerns. However, the town council had already given UPC their approval.
The first public hearing was an information session for the public that was offered only as a question and answer period. It was made very clear that the decision had already been made, that the approval was confirmed from the planning board and the town council that the windmills were coming. During that evening, there was a gentleman that stood up and asked the question. He said, and we don't know, I can't remember who it was, and we can't pull it from the tapes. He said that he lived very close to the project and was very concerned about what type of noise would be emitted from them. And UPC representatives Peter Gish and Rick Tyler. Rick Tyler would have been the public relations manager. Carried on a conversation with the gentleman that that these windmills were basically aerodynamically silent.
The sound generated by the turbine is such that you have to be within about 500 feet of here. That's even essentially so.
Will these wind towers make noise? A common question found on the UPC website, which answers that virtually no mechanical noise from these turbines can be heard. If you are near a turbine, you may hear the sound of the wind and the swooshing sound made by the slowly turning blade parting the air. If the wind is blowing, the background noise of the wind in the trees is all you are likely to hear. You will not be able to hear any noise at all at the foot of the mountain. Between 2003 and 2005, 4 families built new homes at the base of Mars Hill with assurance that these wind turbines would not be heard. However, during the time, a study by Resource Systems engineer Scott Bodwell concluded this: the results of the preliminary analysis indicate a potential exists for the wind farm to generate sound levels at or above Maine DEP residential and quiet area limits at several nearby parcels. The study was included in the UPC permit. On June 23, 2003, the Town Council and Town Manager signed off on the permit application for UPC Wind to construct 28 400-foot wind turbines on top of Mars Hill. Town Manager Ray Mercero told the Bangor Daily News that he doesn't know whether officials saw the information included. He was quoted saying, "I don't know if they saw it, but it was in the permit. Not everyone, including myself, saw everything in the permit."